Welcome to Balanced But Barely, a podcast for anyone who looks like they have it all together, but internally has about 47 tabs open in their mind. I'm Carla Jean, and each episode we talk real-life stress, anxiety, and self-regulation in a way that actually makes sense. You'll walk away with practical tools to feel calmer, think clear, and create more balance without needing to hide underneath your weighted blanket by 2 p.m. Today's episode is brought to you by Poshmark, the #1 social marketplace where you can buy, sell, and connect with people whose style you love. Visit Poshmark.com and use promo code CarlaJean143, that's CarlaJean143 to receive $10 when you sign up. Welcome to Balanced But Barely. I am your host, Carla Jean, and I am so glad that you're here. This is the podcast for those of us who look like we have it all together, right up until someone asks, "How are you?" And suddenly we're trying really hard not to cry in the Costco parking lot. If this is your first episode, welcome. If you've been here since episode 1, thank you. I don't take a single minute of your time for granted, and every week we talk about things we don't always say out loud. Stress, burnout, people-pleasing, boundaries, healing, and growth. It's the messy middle between surviving and actually living. Because life isn't about pretending we've got everything figured out. It's about taking one honest step at a time. And if we can laugh a little while we're figuring it out, even better. All right, this week's Balanced But Barely moment, you guys. Does anyone else out there feel like your friends or your family members or your coworkers' personal Google search engine? Back in the day when Google and ChatGPT were not a thing, yes, that was different. But nowadays, it is faster to Google something than to pick up the phone to call or text me to ask me the same exact question. I have a loved one that does this to me, and I just shake my head and laugh every time because the questions are always very random and usually not on topics that I am experienced in at all. But here's the kicker. I answer them. What the hell? I pause, I look up the answer, and then I get back to them. Yeah, wait, what? Yes, I do. The same action that they could have taken themselves. I just did it for them. Yes, you heard it here first, y'all. I do that. So that's not the Balance But Barely moment yet. I honestly don't mind that part at all. It's not the inconvenient interruption that threatened to throw off my balance or my ridiculous action of looking this up for them. But it's the fact that they will question my response or they ask follow-up questions that offers a strong teeter to my totter. When this happens, and I hate to admit that this happens more than it should, because I should stop looking things up for them. Oh crap, I just shoulded on myself. Okay, let me rephrase that. Carla Jean will redirect them to Google when this happens again. Because I just want to scream when this happens. Like, really? Then go ahead and look it up yourself and let me get back to work. But instead, I politely point them to where I got the information. Then I started thinking to myself, I can't be the only one that gets annoyed by this. And that's when I realized that today's episode has probably been living in my head for weeks. Let me ask you something. Who gets the first phone call when there's a family emergency? Who organizes birthdays, schedules appointments, remembers everyone's allergies, knows where the extra batteries are, and somehow also knows who's mad at whom in the family? If your shoulders just tensed up, then I'm talking to you. Maybe you've become the strong one, the dependable one, the responsible one, the one everyone counts on, the one who always says, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." And maybe without even realizing it, you started believing that's where your value comes from. Not because someone told you, because somewhere along the way, being needed started feeling the same as being loved. Today, we're going to gently untangle those two things because they are not the same. Being needed feels important. Being loved feels safe. Being needed can be exhausting. Being loved feels like you can finally exhale. And by the end of today's episode, you'll understand why so many high-functioning people become the strong one. why constantly rescuing everyone else often leaves us disconnected from ourselves, and how to build a relationship where love doesn't have to be earned through exhaustion. So, take a deep breath, unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders, and let's talk about the weight you've been carrying. I don't think anyone wakes up one morning and says, you know what sounds fun? I'd really like to become emotionally responsible for everyone around me. Nobody puts that on a vision board. It just happens slowly. It's quiet. It's like a little quiet little ninja just creeping up on you. Usually long before we're adults, and maybe you were the oldest sibling. Maybe one of your parents struggled with addiction or anxiety or depression. Maybe someone in your family was unpredictable. Maybe you learned very young that if you stayed calm, everyone else stayed calmer too. Maybe you are the peacemaker, the helper, the responsible kid, the easy kid, the one who didn't ask for much because someone else always seemed to need. Psychologists sometimes call this parentification. It's when a child takes on emotional or practical responsibilities that are beyond what they would normally be expected for their age. Sometimes it's obvious, like cooking dinner, taking care of younger siblings, managing the household, but sometimes it's invisible, like being mom's therapist, keeping dad calm, trying to make sure nobody argued, learning to read every expression before anyone said a word. Growing up in that environment teaches your nervous system something very important. If everyone else is okay, then I'm okay. And that's a heavy lesson for a child to carry. The problem is children grow up, but the nervous system remembers. So now you're 50 or 45 or 62, and you're still scanning every room, still making sure everyone else is comfortable, still anticipating everyone else's needs before they ask, still apologizing for things that aren't your fault, still carrying responsibilities that no one actually handed to you. And this isn't because you're weak. It's because your brain learned that hypervigilance kept you safe. And your nervous system doesn't easily distinguish between your childhood home and your adult life. It simply recognizes familiar patterns. That's why so many of us feel physically uncomfortable when we stop taking care of everyone else. We mistake guilt for danger. We mistake rest for selfishness. We mistake saying no for rejection. None of those are facts. Those are survival strategies. And survival strategies make perfect sense until they start costing us the very peace we're trying so hard to create. Here's the interesting part. Most people don't compliment us for being rested. They compliment us for being reliable. You're amazing. I don't know how we would have done it without you. You're always there. You never let anyone down. And those words feel good, right? Like really good. Because who doesn't want to feel appreciated? But if we're not careful, those compliments quietly become expectations. Then expectations become identity. And identity becomes a prison. Suddenly you don't know who you are unless someone needs something from you. That's not love. That's a role. And roles can be incredibly difficult to let go of. Here's something I wish someone would have told me years ago. There is a difference between being kind and being responsible for everyone else's happiness. Those are not the same thing. Because being kind says, I care about you. Feeling responsible says, your emotions are my job. And that's an impossible job description. Because no matter how hard you try, you cannot regulate someone else's nervous system for them. You can't heal someone who doesn't want to be healed. You can't rescue someone who insists on swimming farther out into the ocean. And you definitely can't make everyone happy. Trust me, I've tried, and maybe you have too. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately known something felt off? Nobody had to say a word. You could feel it. Someone was irritated. Someone was anxious. Someone was disappointed. And before anyone even acknowledged it, you had already started trying to fix it. You cracked a joke, changed the subject, offered to help, volunteered for something maybe, even apologized, even though you weren't entirely sure what you were apologizing for. It's almost like we have emotional smoke detectors, except ours are so sensitive they go off every time someone burns toast. Being observant is a gift. Having empathy is a gift. Being compassionate is a gift. Gifts can become burdens when we believe we're obligated to use them every minute of the day. That's where empathy quietly turns into exhaustion. Compassion becomes burnout, and helping becomes overfunctioning. And before long, we're carrying backpacks that were never ours to pick up. Let's talk about something that changed the way I look at relationships. So, healthy helping says, I'll walk beside you. When you're over helping, you're saying, I'll carry you. Healthy helping encourages someone to grow. You know, the whole like teach a man to fish thing. Over helping accidentally teaches them that they don't have to. Healthy helping leaves both people feeling connected. Over helping usually leaves one person feeling grateful and the other one feeling exhausted. Think about it this way. Imagine your friend is learning to ride a bike. Would you run beside them for the first few minutes? Of course. Would you hold the bike forever? Probably not. Because eventually your helping would actually prevent them from learning. Relationships work the same way. Sometimes love means supporting someone. Sometimes love means allowing someone to struggle. And that's hard, I get it. Especially if you've spent years believing your value comes from being useful. All right, let's pause for a moment. If you're driving, keep your eyes on the road. Everyone else, go ahead and close your eyes. Take a slow breath in and let it out. Again, deep inhale, slow exhale. And now imagine you're wearing a backpack. It's heavy, really heavy. Inside are responsibilities, expectations, guilt, pressure. Someone else's happiness, someone else's disappointment, someone else's financial problems, someone else's marriage, someone else's choices. Now, one by one, take them each out of the backpack. And as you hold it, ask yourself one simple question. Is this actually mine? If the answer is yes, place it gently back inside the backpack. If the answer is no, set it beside you. Take another slow breath in, and remember, putting something down doesn't mean you stop caring. Sometimes it is the healthiest way to love. In this week, I don't want you to practice saying no. Not yet. We're not there yet, y'all. I want you to practice something much, much simpler. The next time someone asks you for something, pause. Just pause. Before your automatic sure flies out of your mouth. Take a breath. That's it. Just one breath. Because in that tiny pause, you're going to create something incredibly powerful, a choice. And every healthy boundary begins with a pause. Let's talk about something that might be a little uncomfortable. And I say that with love because if it hits a nerve, there's a good chance it's a nerve that has been working overtime for many, many years. Many of us have built our identity around being needed. We are the person people call, the person who knows what to do, the person who stays calm when everyone else is falling apart, the person who remembers the birthday, the deadline, the appointment, the password, the dog's medication schedule, oh my goodness, the name of that neighbor kid, and somehow, where everyone else has misplaced their emotional stability, we are expected to have a spare one in our purse, right next to the gum and the receipts from 3 years ago. But here's the question I want you to sit with. If nobody needed anything from you, who would you be? Not what would you do? Who would you be? That question can feel surprisingly uncomfortable because for many of us, being needed became the evidence we used to prove that we mattered. Let's break this down. Being needed often sounds like, you're the only one who can do this. I don't know what I'd do without you. Can you help me? Can you fix this? Can you handle this? And again, there's nothing wrong with being needed. Being needed feels good. It feels meaningful. It feels like you have a purpose. The problem happens when being needed becomes the only place you know how to receive love. Because you start subconsciously asking, if I stop helping, will people still choose me? If I stop giving, will people still want me around? If I stop being useful, am I still valuable? And that is such a heavy burden to carry, because now every relationship becomes a performance. Every interaction becomes an audition. Every yes becomes a way to prove I'm good, I'm worthy, I'm lovable. But love, real love, sounds different. Love says, you don't have to earn your place here. I care about your feelings too. You don't have to be the strong one today. We wear busy like a badge of honor. We apologize when we take vacation. We say things like, I'm sorry, I was unavailable. Unavailable? Like, are you at some secret government meeting? Were you saving puppies from a burning building? Or were you simply just resting? Somehow resting has become something we need to justify. All right, now let's talk about the strong one. Y'all can't see my finger quotes, but I'm doing them. The strong one. Because being strong is not the problem. Strength is beautiful. Strength gets people through impossible seasons. Strength helps us survive things we never thought we could. The problem is when strength becomes a prison. When people only know you as strong, they may stop noticing when you're tired, not because they don't care, sometimes because you've trained them not to look. Think about it. If someone always says, I'm fine, if someone always says, don't worry about me, if someone always says, I've got it, eventually people start believing them. And this is where we need to be honest. Sometimes we feel unseen, but we have spent years making ourselves impossible to see. Ouch, I know. That one was a little below the belt. Apologies. I know it stings a little, but stay with me because this isn't about blame, I promise. This is about awareness. Many of us learned how to survive by hiding our needs. Then we grew up and wondered why nobody knew we even had them. Research on caregiving and emotional labor shows that consistently managing other people's needs while ignoring your own can contribute to stress, exhaustion, resentment, and burnout. And this isn't limited to formal caregiving roles. It happens in friendships, marriages, parenting, workplaces, families. You can become the unofficial emotional manager. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine that? Like, that's my name tag. It says Carla Jean, emotional manager. And then if you had any sort of emotional outburst, you could say, oh, well, let me have you speak to my manager. I'm just having this whole vision in my head right now and I'm making myself, it's cracking me up. Okay. All right. Sorry, I got off track. As the emotional manager, you monitor their moods, you anticipate problems, you smooth over conflict, you carry an invisible clipboard with your invisible checklist on it. And because so much of this work happens quietly, people often don't even realize how much you're doing, including you. They just say, I'm tired, I'm busy, I have a lot going on, I just need to get through the week. But the week's coming up, and eventually this week becomes your lifestyle. All right, instead of asking, what does everyone need from me? Try asking this. What do I need in order to show up for myself? Not a better employee, not a better parent, not a better partner, not a better friend. You, the person underneath all the roles. Because you are not just the person who solves problems. You are not just the person who remembers everything. You are not just the person who holds everything together. You are a whole person. You have needs, limits, dreams, emotions, all with a nervous system that deserves care. All right, I want to try something different. Most mindfulness practices focus on breathing, and this one's going to focus on receiving. Because for many people listening, giving is easy. Receiving is the uncomfortable part. So take a deep breath. Place one hand over your heart and one hand over your belly and ask yourself, what does it feel like when someone takes care of me? Notice what comes up. Comfort, relief. Keep breathing in through the nose. Slow and out through the mouth. Are you feeling resistance? There's no wrong answer. Now imagine someone you trust saying, "You do not have to handle this alone." Notice your body's reaction. Do you soften or do you tense? Do you want to immediately respond with, "No, I'm okay"? If that sentence is difficult to receive, that's okay. You are learning. Repeat quietly, "I'm allowed to receive support." Deep breath in. Calm breath out. Repeat again. "I'm allowed to receive support." Because love is not just something you give. It's something that you're also allowed to experience. So, back in May of 2024, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I remember sitting on the couch with the doctor on speakerphone and hearing the words, "The result of the biopsy came back positive for breast cancer." I know I heard the words, but my body wasn't letting me feel them yet. It felt like the room was shrinking, and the doctor kept talking, but I honestly didn't hear anything after positive for breast cancer. I was home alone with my senior dog, Zoe, who I had rescued only a month earlier. My son was working in another state at the time, and my partner was at work. My doctor informed me that a patient advocate would be contacting me shortly, and I hung up the phone and I just sat there. Did this really just happen? I don't know how long it took for the nurse to call me, but I assure you that I sat on that couch frozen in disbelief and in silence until my phone buzzed. As I listened to the roadmap laid out by the nurse of what lay ahead for me, my mind raced with shit that didn't matter, but at the time, it did matter. Things like, will I be able to take care of Zoe? What am I going to tell my work? I mean, I just started that job like 2 months prior to this. How am I going to function when I get real sick? Who am I going to tell? How do I tell them without scaring them? Not for 1 second did I think, who will take care of me? Or what do I need in this situation? All of my peeps knew me as the strong one, the one who has overcome some intense tragedies. And at that time, I could count on one hand the number of times that I have asked for help. At one point, I didn't even know what was scarier, having cancer or admitting that I needed help. I would have surgery and radiation, thankfully no chemo. I would need rides to the hospital, care at home, post-surgery, scheduling assistance, and emotional support. I would need someone to walk Zoe for me every day, someone to prepare my meals and clean up after me. I accepted all of it minus the emotional support. Man, did I resist this one. I resisted admitting I needed someone to just sit with me quietly on the couch while I cried or yelled or slept. I smiled and softened any concern that came my way, not just to make them feel better, but to avoid my own discomfort for feeling weak and not in control. After surgery, my partner and my mom took turns taking care of me, making sure that I didn't lift my arms above my, shoulders, made sure I took my meds and not too many of them, and that I was eating and that I was resting. Because I had never had anyone take care of me before, I felt like I was being babysat instead of being cared for. One day, my mom was with me, and I remember telling her at the beginning of the day, "I cannot make any decisions. I need you to make them and let me rest." And for the next few hours, my mother hovered over me, trying to give me what I needed, bless her heart. But these were the questions I was being asked. Are you hungry? Do you want another pillow? How many pain pills do you need? All of these questions required me to trudge through the dense fog in my brain, even to say, I don't know. I was feeling my emotions rise to the top with every question. Finally, she asked the question that broke me. Do you want some crackers? I know it doesn't sound like like a weaponized question, but trust me, it was a doozy. All I could muster up was yes. That's it. That's all I could say. And then this happened. What kind of crackers do you want? Saltines or graham crackers? I just lost it, you guys. I was a grown woman standing in her living room bawling because her mother had asked her what kind of crackers she wanted. I can only imagine how silly that all looked. So a few minutes later, my partner actually showed up at my doorstep. This was the middle of the day. He was supposed to be at work. So my brain, again, being super foggy, I wasn't sure what was going on. What was he doing there? Well, apparently my mom had texted him and told him I was having a hard time and asked if he would just give me a call to help me feel better. But luckily for me, he was in the area, and so he just stopped by. But here's what happened. So I open the door, I see him, I immediately start tearing up, and I give him a huge hug. And he says to me, I hear you're having a tough time. What's going on? As if the Hoover Dam had just sprung a leak. My face was flooded with tears and I sobbed. You guys, I was sobbing. My mom asked me what kind of crackers I wanted. And without skipping a beat, this man says, how dare she? Doesn't she know just to give you all the crackers? I felt so silly, but so seen and heard at the exact same time. Being cared for was so new to me, and taking care of me was new to my mom. We had never done this before. I learned that needing help wasn't my weakness, and I could trust my people to take care of me. I also learned that softening into a space of receiving did take courage and strength. I don't want to leave you on a cliffhanger, but I really needed graham crackers, not saltine crackers. This is where things are going to get real interesting because many of us have spent years learning how to give. We know how to show up. We know how to encourage. We know how to make someone feel seen. We know how to send the text that says, hey, just checking on you. We know how to bring the casserole, send the DoorDash. We know how to sit through a hard conversation. We know how to say, tell me everything. But when the tables turn and someone says, how can I support you? A strange thing happens, right? Our brain short circuits. Like our emotional software freezes. It's like loading. That little wheel is just like spinning around on your monitor. And then all of a sudden you get an error message. Error 404, ability to receive support not found. And suddenly we say, oh, I'm fine. No, really, it's okay. I don't want to bother you. I'll figure it out. And maybe you mean it. Maybe you genuinely don't want to burden anybody. But here's something important to consider. When you never allow people to support you, you unintentionally prevent them from experiencing intimacy with you. Because intimacy is not built only through giving. It's built through allowing ourselves to be known. One of the reasons receiving support feels so uncomfortable is because many of us have misunderstood vulnerability. We think vulnerability means I'm falling apart and someone has to rescue me. That's not vulnerability. Vulnerability is I'm willing to let someone see the truth of my experience. It's saying, this is hard. I don't know what to do. I could use some help. And I don't have all the answers. Yes, for the strong, that can feel terrifying. Because somewhere along the way you learned if I need someone, I might get disappointed. If I depend on someone, they might let me down. If I show weakness, I might lose respect. So you become independent, but not just independent, you become hyper independent. The kind of independent where you would rather struggle silently for 6 months and then ask someone to help you carry a box. Not because the box is heavy, because asking feels even heavier. I have to tell you this quick little story that I did not intend. This is not in the script, you guys. I used to own a yoga studio, and when I was building out the space, there was this day I remember I needed to haul in inventory, boxes of inventory, yoga mats and yoga bolsters and blocks and things of that sort. But there was no parking in front of my yoga studio. It was downtown, so the parking was really limited and you had to like be super lucky to find, that spot right in front of your space. And so I had to park like 2 blocks over. And in my brain, I thought, no big deal. I'm strong. I can just carry this. Like, I'm giving you a literal, visual, actual, this happened in real life example of what I just said. I'm literally carrying this box that didn't feel very heavy at the time. Okay. I get down block 1 and it's starting to feel a little heavier. My arms are starting to shake. My biceps are starting to sweat. I get to block 2 and now I can see the yoga studio, but I'm still a good 50 yards away from it, right? I put the box down, I'm wet, I'm resting. You guys, my arms gave out on me. I could not lift that box up to save my life. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't just leave this very valuable box of inventory on the sidewalk downtown and to go get my car. I literally had to call someone to come meet me on the sidewalk to help me get this box to the yoga studio. Now, you're asking, well, that's silly, Carla. Why didn't you just do that to begin with? Well, because you guys, I'm talking about it right now. I am hyper independent. I'm thinking I can move this box. I don't need help. And you know what? I don't need a dolly. Who needs a stinking dolly? I can just carry the box. I have a best friend who, this is another story. I hope you guys are settled in for the night. My best friend, God bless her soul. This is probably something we bond over. This woman has like moved the heaviest freaking furniture I've ever come across by herself. And I know this determination because I've done it myself, where you're like, I need to get this couch up the stairs, over the balcony, and around the house and into the truck. And I cannot wait for everyone to get home from work. I cannot wait to see if someone wants to help me. I need this done now. And I don't want to deal with everyone's attitude if I ask them for help. And so, yeah, I've witnessed her do that as well. In real life, this is actually happening in our lives. And some of you probably are like, yep, been there, done that. I totally know what you're talking about. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. The distinction is healthy independent says, I can take care of myself. Hyper independent says, I can only count on myself. Those are very different. Healthy independence allows connection, and hyper independence avoids it. Healthy independence says, I'm capable, and hyper independence says, I cannot need anyone. And the truth is, humans are wired for connection. We're not designed to do life completely alone. Think about this phrase, it takes a village. We hear that phrase mostly around parenting, but it applies to everything. It takes a village to grieve. It takes a village to heal. It takes a village to celebrate. It takes a village to survive hard seasons. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to admit you need a village. Let's connect this conversation with the 4 pillars of wellness: mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. Mentally, carrying everything alone creates a constant state of responsibility. Your brain is always scanning. What could go wrong? What needs to be handled? Who needs something? Learning to ask for support creates mental space. It reminds your brain, I don't have to solve every problem alone. Physical wellness, your body keeps the score of what your mind carries. Chronic stress impacts your sleep, energy, muscle tension, digestion, and overall health. Sometimes the healthiest physical choice isn't another productivity hack. Sometimes it's saying, I need help. I need rest. I need a break. Spiritual wellness. Spiritually, receiving support requires humility. It requires accepting that your worth is not based on how much you sacrifice. You are valuable because you exist, not because you perform, not because you produce, not because you save everyone. And financial wellness. This one might actually surprise people. Being everyone's emergency contact often extends into finances. Maybe you're always the person who loans money. Maybe you always pay. Maybe you always cover the gap and always say, it's okay. But financial boundaries are still boundaries. Love does not require financial self-abandonment. Helping someone financially should come from generosity, not guilt. Here are some resources that go really well with this episode. I will list them in the show notes at carlajean143.com. The first recommendation is a book called Set Boundaries, Find Peace. It's a book that provides practical guidance on identifying your needs, your communication boundaries, and creating a healthy relationship without guilt. And it's a great reminder that boundaries are not walls. They are instructions for how we love each other well. I think I've recommended this app before, but it's worth recommending again. I use it almost daily. It's called the Insight Timer, INSIGHT, Insight Timer. It is free. There are some paid for options within the app, but you don't have to pay for anything to use the app. It's a meditation app that offers thousands of free guided meditations, including practices focused on self-compassion, stress reduction, gratitude, and emotional regulation. For this episode, I would encourage you to search Receiving Support, Self-Compassion, and Loving Kindness Meditation. Finally, I recommend this documentary for all of you documentary nerds like myself. It's called The Wisdom of Trauma. It's a documentary that explores how trauma and emotional experiences shape our nervous system, our relationships, and our coping patterns. It offers valuable insight into why some people learn to survive by becoming overly responsible, disconnected from their own needs, or afraid of vulnerability. If you're driving, again, just continue what you're doing and just listen, but keep your eyes on the road. For everyone else, find a comfortable position. Take a slow breath in and release. Again, inhale and exhale. Now bring to mind all of the roles you carry. Parent, partner, friend, employee, caregiver, problem solver, the person everyone calls. Now imagine removing each role one at a time. Not forever, just for this moment. Remove the title. Remove the responsibility. Remove the expectation. And ask yourself, who am I when I am not doing something for someone else? And then sit with whatever comes up. Now repeat. My value is not measured by what I provide. Take a deep breath in and a cleansing breath out. Again, repeat. My value is not measured by what I provide. One more time, deep breath in and out. Repeat, I am worthy even when I am simply being. And let that truth settle. This week, I want you to try something uncomfortable. Ask for one thing, not because you can't do it for yourself, because I'm sure we're Wonder Women. We can do anything. But because you're practicing to allow people to love you. Remember, we're building this muscle. We're building the muscle. We have to work it out. We have to use it, okay? Ask a friend to go grab coffee. Ask someone to listen. Ask someone to help you with the task. Ask someone, can you just sit with me for a minute? And notice what happens. Notice if there's guilt. Notice the discomfort. Notice the urge to immediately say, never mind, it's fine. And then gently remind yourself, receiving is part of connection. Before we wrap up today, I want you to take a moment and acknowledge something. If you are the person everyone calls, the person everyone trusts, the person everyone counts on, there is a reason. It means that you are incredibly loving. It means that you are dependable. It means you are compassionate. You are someone that people feel safe with, and those are beautiful qualities. This episode is not about becoming someone who stops caring. It's not about becoming cold. It's not even about saying, sorry, I don't have the emotional bandwidth. Good luck out there. Although, let's be honest, some days that sentence feels very tempting. It's not about caring less. It's about caring without abandoning yourself. Because remember, there is a difference. For years, many of us were taught that love looked like sacrifice. And sometimes it does. Love does require generosity. It requires compassion. It requires showing up. But love was never supposed to require you to disappear. You can be a good friend and still have boundaries. You can be a loving parent and still have needs. You can be a supportive partner and still ask for support. You can be a strong person and still have moments where you need someone to sit beside you. Strength was never meant to mean I never need anyone. Strength means I know when I need support. And because this is Balanced But Barely, season 1 of Getting Your Shift Together, here's your shift for the week. Stop automatically saying yes. Not forever and not dramatically, y'all. Don't make like a huge social media post of like, I'm getting my shift together and I'm going to stop saying yes. Just pause before you say anything, before you agree, before you volunteer, before you jump to the rescue. Pause and take one breath. Remember, when you pause, you are allowing yourself to make a choice. And ask yourself, am I saying yes because I want to, or because I'm afraid of disappointing someone? That one question can change everything, because a true yes feels generous, and resenting yes feels heavy. And your body usually knows the difference before your brain even catches up. I want to leave you with this. The people who truly love you do not love you because you remember everything. They do not love you because you fix everything. They do not love you because you never fall apart. They love you because you are you. The messy parts, the tired parts, the uncertain parts, the parts that don't have all the answers, the parts that sometimes need help. You do not have to earn your place in someone's life by exhausting yourself. You don't have to prove your worth by carrying more than you were meant to carry. And you don't have to wait until you're completely depleted before you allow someone else to show up for you. All right? That's what I have for you today. If this episode made you feel personally summoned by the universe, welcome. You are officially part of the Balanced But Barely Club. The membership requirement is simple. You just have to try your best, while occasionally wondering if everyone else secretly received an instruction manual that you somehow missed. Spoiler alert, they didn't. Nobody has it figured out. We're all just pretending we know where the extra batteries are. If today's episode resonated with you, I would love for you to subscribe, follow, and share it with someone who needs the reminder that they don't have to carry everything alone. You can connect with me on Instagram at _Carla Jean 143 for real life moments, encouragement, behind the scenes content, and reminders that personal growth does not have to be perfect. You can also subscribe on YouTube at Carla Jean 143 for guided wellness practices, mindfulness tools, and emotional support. For journal prompts, resources, show notes, and more ways to continue this work, visit www.carlajean143.com. And if you're ready to take these conversations beyond listening and into practice, stay tuned because the Energy Reset courses are coming soon, I promise. They are designed to give you practical tools for regulating your nervous system, reconnecting with yourself, and creating more balance in everyday life. Until next time, take a deep breath, drink some water, unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders, and remember, you don't have to have it all figured out to keep going. You don't have to be everyone's emergency contact to be loved. This is Balanced But Barely. I'm Carla Jean Lundgren, and we are figuring this out together.